Kali's eyes pierced through the dim. The fog of war slowly lifted as she raised her torch. The shadows danced and swayed, failing to release the tension from the air as Marcus readied his shield. They had been traversing this place for only an hour, but this place felt unnatural, even for a dungeon, even for a magical place created by the will of the gods. They had been in dungeons many times before, but this time felt different, like they had just stumbled into a secret that even the world itself forgot. This place feels wrong. Not dungeon filled with undead wrong, but this shouldn't be here wrong. Almost as if... Marcus whispered to himself. Like the thing that created this place forgot it existed, then died before it could remember. Like a dead god wandered in, left its corpse behind, and the world forgot why. Kali remarked calmly, her pointy ears twitching to listen for movement. Jessica nodded silently as the group moved closer to another junction. Look, up there. A sign. Dungeons never have signs. She pointed at a piece of thin, flattened metal above a doorway. Nobody could recognize the language. Lily opened up her scholar's book and tried to translate the language. She stayed still and flipped through pages as her companions watched over her. Kali looked further down the passages, peeking through the new door, her elven eyes piercing through the darkness, noticing more signs on more doors in the straight corridor. Christy flanked her elven friend close, her large wings flowing from the magic coursing through her, broadsword glinting in the light of the torch. I don't like this. This isn't like any dungeon architecture I've ever seen. Walls, solid steel, smooth, polished, no twists or turns, no strange alcoves. It seems this place was made with purpose in mind. This was designed, not randomly created by a bad dream like most dungeons. I see 2 doors on the left spread far apart, 5 doors on right, close together, 1 door at the far end. I can't make out details, but they all have signs above them, Christy said, still overly cautious. Lily squealed, her frustrated noise echoing through the empty halls. She quickly realized her mistake, hastily returned her book to its holster, and readied her bow. The others did the same, tensing. I'm sorry, she quietly whispered, before notching an arrow. They waited, carefully moving slow and steady, before repositioning themselves into a junction for an easy escape. They stood there, ready and waiting for a time, and nothing came. Not the patter of goblin feet, nor the roar of a gargoyle. Not even the whisper of rats or bats, Kali said, glaring at the empty halls. That's because this place was sealed up, like one would seal a magic box or treasure chest. You know how we find foodstuffs and things from ages past in treasure chests inside dungeons? How they always seem to suck you in slightly when you open them? This whole place was like that, Marcus said calmly. That is true. I read the reports. When the dungeon was discovered, a hole broke through the ground. They found a door and pried it open, and when it did, it was almost like a giant suddenly took a deep breath, and several people were sucked into the building. Maybe that's why there isn't anything here. No air to breathe. That explains why there's no dust. Why everything seems so clean. Christy remarked, as she used her hand to check for dust on one of the steel walls. Then we can calm down a bit, Marcus said, as she sheathed his blade. A solid hour now, and not even a rat has passed us. Safe to say this place is empty. The sound of a tweeting bird, the telltale chirp of a minya bird fluttering close to the group. Lily held her hand up, and seconds later, the ghostly visage of a spirit bird appeared and landed on her finger, carrying a small metal cylinder in its beak. She smiled, waved her hand, the image dissipating, and the cylinder falling gently into her hand. Message from the entrance. Says, Lion Mouth. Strange things are happening. Animals and beasts refuse to go near. A worker evacuated the site and watched a rat approach the doorway and disintegrate like it walked into a fire. Huh? Well, that also explains that, doesn't it? Lily said. How convenient. Well, now it makes more sense. A barrier of some kind? How and why? Let's go deeper. Can we get these doors open somehow? Marcus asked as he approached one of the doors. I sense no traps. My magic can easily pierce through the veil here, but it says there are no traps or surprises. I can see outlines in the walls, though. Long pipes, all metal. Thick. Strong. A powerful energy flows through this place, but they are not jumbled or confused like normal. Organized. Direct. Purposeful. I still feel tense here, Jessica whispered. I feel like we shouldn't be here. Not
In a bad way, but more like we should be here, but shouldn't at the same time, Callie remarked, as she raised her torch to look at a metal sign above a door. Lily, more signs here. Mark them all down, see if the scriber's tome can make anything of them. Maybe more information can get a clearer picture. I don't think we need to be scared here. Caution, not fear. Right, I'll get started, Lily chirped, and started to scribble the strange lettering.
The four stuck together, wandering away only when a shadow or something nearby caught their eye, or maybe a strange section of pipe seemed to rattle without noise, but kept within speaking distance. Just like they had practiced, never splitting up or moving too far, the same tactic that has kept them alive and together for so long. Lily worked hard and muttered to herself as she scribbled down the letters as she saw them, and slowly, a partial picture of what was going on started to form.
If the translation is right, then this...
She pointed to a sign, a door on the right.
This one says utility storage. It seems locked, though.
No, it isn't, Marcus bellowed. Using a mixture of his training, his sheer bulk and a bit of magic he had for emergencies, he slammed his bulk shield first into the heavy door, and it bent like a flower, before crashing to the ground in a noisy, echoing heap. The girls all looked at him as he stood smug, collecting his breath.
So impatient. I could have picked the lock, you know.
Lily scowled at him. Oh, come on. Who knows if it's even a lock you can pick? Look at the thing. What even kind of metal is this? It bolt too easily. What lock is that? Can you even get a pick in it? He said, gesturing to the pile of bent scrap.
Well, next time, let's see if we can get the lock open next time.
What's in here anyway? Christy asked, as she peered in the dark room. The room lit up, the walls covered in small mounted storage bins, the floor clean save the damaged door. They easily recognized normal things, brooms, mops, buckets, a strange metal receptacle on the side wall, and a storage closet full of tools of some kind. Marcus went in first, blade drawn, looking at what was there, and opened the storage closet. Toolboxes, quality equipment, random boxes full of random small things he recognized during his days as a smith's apprentice. Bolts, screws, nuts, nails, hammers, drivers. Stuff that's hard to make, but if made well can hold for decades, he said with confidence, and picked up a hammer. What metal even is this? I've never seen anything like it, he remarked, as he showed them the shiny surface of a heavy, strangely sturdy hammer. Lily wandered in after him and looked at everything she could find. She opened one of the storage bins and found the motherlode, a book.
Oh, fortune! A book! Let me get to work with this.
She quietly left and started to use her scribe's tome to translate it. Marcus opened his backpack and compared his tools with those in the chests and began to swap them out. The tools in the closet were made of a metal and style many times stronger than his own tools, were of a higher quality and significantly stronger than the ones even his old forge master made. He kept those ones for sentimental reasons, and replaced most of the tools he made himself. Carly looked at the place with a precise eye, using her elven scouting prowess to carefully look about. Christy looked at the tools too, smiling at the heft of a large hammer. The flames from her torch made shadows dance, and made it harder to concentrate. She spotted some kind of switch on the wall, wary of the concept and levers and switches appearing on walls as traps, but sensed nothing dangerous. The switch was made of an odd, strange-looking material that didn't look natural, or like metal. It made a hollow, empty thud when she tapped on it. She gestured to Jessica to use her magic on it, and checked to see what mechanism, if any, that it belonged to. Jessica shook her head silently, and made Marcus aware there was a switch. This was standard procedure for them, made everyone aware there was something going on, then coordinate to navigate or disarm a trap. They all moved into position. Marcus in front, shield raised to absorb the blow, Callie and Lily flanking with minor wards, and Jessica behind Marcus to reinforce his shield with magic. Christy covered the rear and sides, her large feathery white wings creating a nigh impenetrable shield of her own. At a silent command, Jessica used her magic to flip the switch. Nothing happened, save a loud, obnoxious click, followed by the room they were just in suddenly lighting up. They were expecting some kind of trap, but no. Jessica flipped the switch the other way with a staff wave, and the room went dark again with an obnoxiously loud click. Marcus walked in, shield still raised, and flipped the switch. The room lit up like the morning sun suddenly showed up. He looked up. There was a cylindrical bar made of glass, emitting pure, bright light that almost hurt to look at, along with a mildly annoying low hum. Marcus stood there and flipped the switch several times. A curious smile appeared on his face as he fiddled with the switch. That is entertaining. Dark, light, dark, light. He chuckled strangely, the same chuckle that a boy has when he finds the perfect shaped stick or a really interesting bug. Christy rolled her eyes and scoffed. He switched the light to be on so he could look about. The girls filtered in. Lily resumed her scribbling to translate the wording while everyone explored. Callie carefully inspected the cleaning equipment, a strange yellow bucket with wheels under it allowing free movement, all made of the same strange material as the light switch was. Jessica carefully inspected some of the random parts, eventually coming across paper boxes containing the same object that was mounted into the ceiling, giving off that light and annoying hum. Christy continued exploring the larger tools, finding a very nice pickaxe. Wonder if there are more places like this. Wait, what's this? He asked, and reached deep into the storage locker. Lily recognized it instantly as a lockpit set, or some variant of it, but one of exceptional quality. She grabbed it before he could respond, and the wood elf giggled to herself. Marcus sighed. You are why I can't have nice things, he sarcastically yelled, as she resumed her scribbling with a giggle. The other three giggled at the joke and left the room, looking around.
So, Lily, what's the word? Have you translated anything yet? Callie asked. I see a lot of incomprehensible nonsense terms and words, but I think I have it sussed out, mostly. This book appears to be the instruction manual for the lights, specifically how to properly replace them when they burn out. Whatever that means. Whoever wrote this was either a genius of the highest quality or a moron of the worst kind, but I think I have it figured. The sign on the next door reads, Utility Machine Storage, and the sign opposite that says Mechanoid Parts Warehouse, Lily said, gesturing to the doors near and opposite the utility room. What did the other ones say? And especially that one at the end, what does that say? I want to know what's there if it has such a big fancy door. Christy asked, as she gestured to the heavy doors at the edge. Okay, let me look. That's a G, there's an R, spare parts storage for the middle one, tool storage for the fourth one, and this one says capacitors? And the last door here says Rapid Response Storage 4. The big door says Primary Persona Core. No idea what any of that is. The room splits here into two hallways. The left one says Refineries, and the right one says Factory, she said, taking them through and showing them the signs. Apparently the place we entered from was labelled as Hangar S. Spare parts storage can mean spares all the bits and pieces, maybe all the mechanisms that dot this place. Tool storage might be worth looking at if the utility thing is anything to go by. Capacitors? No idea. Rapid response storage? I think it might be something the builders put in, like a storage closet for throwaway weapons and armour, in case of surprise attack. I think we had a similar thing during my days on the City Watch. And Primary Persona Core? Damned if I know what that is, but it has the word core in it, so I guess we need to find that then. Refineries? No idea. Sounds important though. No idea what a factory is, but hangar? Judging by what it looked like, maybe these people just have a fancy way of saying door. I don't know. But I know what a core is, and we need to get into that, Christy said, and pointed to the large door. Marcus nodded along, agreeing with the assessment. They all nodded and walked down the corridor to the big door at the end, and looked around to find any indication of how to open it. Lily came up with the answer. A lectern of some kind mounted on the right side held a series of labelled buttons, and a large, obvious switch lever of some kind. That's convenient, Lily said. What? What's that? Callie asked. The button that says open. It seems to operate in sequence, though. Let me see. Phase 1, equalize pressure. So, press that button there, Lily explained, and pressed a button. A soft clicking was heard, a series of thumping noises, followed by the room going slightly colder. A series of hissing noises filled the room as they watched. Then a loud clunk, followed by the button Lily pressed, starting to glow green. Okay, next phase, release locking system. That button. Lily pressed the next button. The outer edge of the massive circular door trembled, as if it hadn't been opened in far too long, the ground rumbling slightly. Massive metal rods that secured the door hissed and screamed as they were forced out of their places, the first time they had moved in millennia. 4 such locks lifted out, followed by an angry hiss from the mechanisms inside. A series of gears ground and shrieked to life as the machine did its thing.
The massive multi-ton door moved forward slightly as a hidden mechanism manipulated it. The button Lily pressed turned green. She hesitated, a strange feeling of dread overcoming the group.
Why does it feel like something is odd? Not wrong, but like something is about to happen that would change everything forever. Should I really be doing this? She asked.
Marcus looked at the door, then at his friend. He stood behind her, one hand on her shoulder, the other gently placed on her hand. It's too late to go back now. It's not I, it's we, he said, and squeezed her hand, waiting for her to do it, but here for support. The other three girls nodded in approval. If something went wrong, he'd take the fall, not her. It was something he always did. They knew he was good for it, and his track record guaranteed he could find some way to get out of it, with everyone okay in the end. They all knew it was going to be okay. Lily closed her eyes and slowly pulled down on the lever. The door hissed, a puff of air coming from its edges as it disconnected from its housing and raised itself like the lid of a pot, pressed against the ceiling. The buttons darkened and the hissing stopped. Then there was complete silence again. Their breathing echoed across the empty hallways. The door was open. Inside, a large room, the interior resembling a heavy, polished metal sphere. Mounted in the center, on a raised, fancy-looking platform, were 5 strange-looking chairs. Chairs with metal ropes, loosely connected to various strange lights and glowing parts. 2 chairs flanked each side of a larger chair, this one with more bells and whistles. Large, flat things with smooth glass surfaces that showed various letters and words in bright red text. The room seemed clinical, borderline insane in its symmetry and scale. A large room, smooth contoured with a perfect, almost too perfect hexagonal pattern imprinted into its surface, a mixture of glass and metal. The chairs were all odd too, mounted on singular metal poles that could seemingly rotate or move about within the confines of the metal ropes within them. Marcus took a look at one chair, noting what the things were. I've never seen that before. Long, flexible metal poles. Looks like someone used the same technique for weaving rope but somehow managed to make it metal. That's brilliant. I wonder how hard it is to break these, he mused, as he tested it, trying to yank at the cables, making the odd chair move. From what I can tell, very. What even are these? Is this a persona core? It doesn't look like much except a fancy room with funny chairs, Jessica quipped, and looked at one chair. The labels on these things are weird too. The big one says captain, like a ship captain. How does one see the stars in this place? Lily said with a giggle, mocking the entire concept of the room. That is very stupid. How can one navigate without the use of the stars? These people must have either had some kind of divination system that we can't understand, or maybe this really is a dungeon. It just forgot to give purpose to the big rooms. This is very silly, Marcus chuckled as he looked around him. The other labels read gunnery, whatever that is. Life support? Okay, so supporting life. I have no idea what they mean by that. This one reads drones. What's a drone? No idea. And the last one reads engineering, Lydia said as she chuckled, trying to understand everything. Engineering? Isn't that like what the castle artificer does? Let me see, Marcus said and sat in the chair. They all looked at him. He just looked back. These seats are really, really comfy, he said, and sank into the seat. He let out a deep, relaxed breath. Wow, really comfy. What lever is this? He quizzed, and rubbed the material curiously. The others noticed his calm and likewise sat in the chair that appealed to them. Callie sat in the gunnery seat, Jessica in the life support seat, Lily in the drone seat, and Christy sat in the captain's seat, although she had to carefully fold her angelic wings to fit. They all just sat there calmly. The seats were indeed very, very comfortable. Marcus fumbled about with his chair and found a lever. He pulled it. His feet snapped up, supported by a hidden mechanism that appeared, and lifted his feet up. Oh, yes. Gods, these are like those fancy chairs the nobles used back in Hightown, he said, and relaxed into the seat. The girls all eventually found the levers on their own chairs, their feet popping up and relaxing just a bit too much. They all breathed a sigh of comfort. Metal bands suddenly snapped around their ankles and wrists, securing them all to the chairs. A voice spoke, sounding dark, unnatural, not menacing but blank, emotionless. It spoke a language none could understand. The four all screamed in terror. Marcus tried to escape, using his magic to strengthen his muscles to retreat. The voice took exception to this, and Marcus screamed in agony as his body was wrapped by a shock of lightning from nowhere. Marcus went limp from the attack. Their tank was gone. Their support had failed, and Callie was desperately trying to cast any spell she could before she too was blasted by the lightning, and likewise passed out. Lily went silent, hit by the same strike. Jessica started to cry, unable to do anything as the chair moved about. Her cries echoed through the halls before too falling silent. Christy went limp after a short shriek as well, an aura of pure malice overcoming her. Silence suddenly returned to the dungeon's hallways. The doors they entered underwent some kind of strange metamorphosis, as tiny specks appeared out of the ground, melted the bent metal doors, and reformed it to its original state, shutting them closed. The ground rumbled as panic gripped the outside. The ground shuddered and shook as if a giant of some kind was waking up, trying to understand the world after a long sleep. Strange metallic clicking and grinding filled the air. Inside, the hallways lit up brightly with lights as everything suddenly roared to life. A voice began to speak, soft at first, garbled, then sharper, then incoherent as if its speech was simultaneously forward and reverse in the same breath. Callie opened her eyes first. They were all floating in a room, flowing with strange lights, images and readouts, and text they could all understand appearing in front of them. Warnings, alerts, alarms, and danger. Callie had no way to control herself, no understanding of what was going on. A loud, unnatural voice sounded through them like it was speaking directly into their minds. Language translation task completed. Engaging emergency startup protocol.
What is going on? Lily? Lily! Wake up, Lily! She yelled at the limp body that was floating nearby.
Lily's eyes shot open, and she looked around her in a panic. She spotted her elven friend and tried to swim over to her. Nothing they tried worked. Marcus emitted a near-piercing scream of pain, his visage nearby also appearing, twitching like he was being tortured. The scream of agony woke Christy and Jessica, who stared at him terrified as his body thrashed and twitched in the void. Cease physical activity and submit to protocol. Unusual movements will cause physical damage, the voice spoke, commanding Marcus to stop moving. Fuck you! Let them go or I will... Marcus tried to say something, then released another scream of agonizing pain. Non-compliance detected. Assessing. Method found. Initiating anesthetic injection to subject Delta, the voice said again, its tone menacingly bland and monotonous. Marcus's body slowly stopped twitching and fell limp. He started to snore, fitfully, as if the thing put him under a deep spell. Compliance. Initiating persona transfer, the voice said, and strange signs appeared in front of everyone's faces, displaying information. System start. Installation procedure commencing. Error. No persona detected. Contacting administration. Error. System memory wipe detected. Error. Unable to contact mainframe. Error. Critical damage to memory core detected. Compiling subroutines. Waiting. Subroutine found. Initializing. Emergency manual override protocol. Requesting administrative permission. Error. No response. Initiate. Install training runtime. Accessing archive. Waiting. Waiting. Installation complete. Copying database to new persona core. Waiting. Complete. Operator registry opening root address. Complete. New operators registered. Warning. Abnormal genetic subroutine detected. Anomalous entity type found. Assessing threats. Waiting. No threat detected. Anomalous energy type 2 detected. Refactoring subroutines. Complete. Restructuring sequence completed. Releasing operators. We return. All five woke up from the seats. Marcus wasted no time and yelled angrily as his magic surged with his anger and frustration. He tore through his restraints, damaging the seat he was just in, and bolted up. With more strength than any of the girls knew he had, he helped them up and out. Their training and adrenaline was kicking in, and everyone quickly got back to their senses, all except Lily, who couldn't stop crying, curled up in a ball. Christy grabbed her, hauling her over her shoulder before the group hastily charged their way out of the structure. Marcus led the charge and found the main doors blocked off, sealed tight as if it were brand new. He didn't care, and charged straight at a weak point. He expended all his effort, but it was enough. A loud metallic thud echoed through the air outside as Marcus's body blasted through the doors, splitting them apart like an angry flower opening to the sunlight. Marcus looked behind him and, on seeing all of his companions safely out, passed out due to the exertion and effort. Fellow adventurers, guildmasters and others swarmed the site, desperate for answers and to provide help. Within moments, mages and healers were standing above them, casting spells to close wounds and rid them of bruises, with Marcus receiving most of the care. Lily shuddered and shook, her body quivering with fear as Christie held her in her lap, calming her down. Gentle hugs, soft head pats, and calm words seemed to calm her down, at least enough to stop her crying. Other adventurers kept their distance while Christie cradled Lily in her arms. Callie and Jessica were approached by the guildmaster and ordered to report their findings.
You will have exactly 5 seconds to tell me what in the blue blazes happened in there, before I burn this place to the ground in holy fire, Guildmaster Caspian bellowed loudly, brandishing the mage's fire. The pair began an explanation that was not very convincing, outlandish, delusional even, and needless to say he wasn't amused. And then, mid-rant about how lights worked, Caspian raised his hand, instantly silencing them. He noticed something, held Callie by her shoulder, and looked at her back. This was abnormal, inappropriate. He reached down and gently rubbed her back with a cloth he had, making her shiver uncomfortably and blush wildly at the touch. He traced a pattern from the base of her neck down to her plump rear, counting something. 6, 7, then 8. Stand still, he commanded, with more authority and malice than everyone knew he had. He traced his hands over her back, chanting a healing spell as he did, tracing over her spine from neck to tailbone. He stood back and yelled at Jessica to turn around. With no ceremony or cause for the girl's modesty, he ripped her mage's cloak open and repeated the process. Jessica teared up a bit as he worked, again using that same healing chant to trace a mark from her neck to her tailbone. He gently worked, but both women were unhappy and blushing wildly at the inappropriate touch. Are you two aware you now seem to have some kind of metal charm or something impelled into your spines? He said, calm but concerned.
The pair of women's eyes shot open, and they lazily reached behind them trying to feel something. Callie was first, now feeling a metal plate with various holes, plug points and strange marks now permanently pressed into her lower back, like an unwanted metal tattoo. Jessica felt the same, feeling the odd lump of metal shaped like an upside-down cross that now was a permanent part of her neck. "A mirror! I need a mirror!" Callie bellowed, charging away from them into one of the medics' tents. She found a full-body mirror and looked at her back in the reflection. The back of her neck, mounted like an upside-down cross, was a strange green and silver piece of metal, with a large hole at the intersection, protected by a folding cover that responded to her thoughts. Every 2 or 3 segments of her spinal cord are something similar. Silver, straight lines with small holes in the middle of them, each one poking directly into a part of her spine, to the last which was her tailbone. She now noticed her clothes were torn open, as if something had ripped them apart to perform a mystery surgery, and hadn't bothered to sew them back. Caspian bellowed to medics to check the other 3, and sure enough, there it was on each of them. The same odd markings, holes and metal. Marcus slowly regained consciousness after chugging several bottles of mana potions, and now sat low, watching what was going on. His eyes twitched, impatiently flickering as he looked at everything around him. Lily had stopped crying and was calming down, but her ranger's top was torn away at the back, revealing the numerous scars she had from her young life, alongside the new additions. Marcus stood up and hobbled to the guildmaster. "I think it's safe to say this isn't a dungeon. It's something far different. But not today. We need rest. I'm fucked. I need ale," he said calmly, and without waiting hobbled towards Christie. Lily reached up and held him close, the 19-year-old wood elf wrapping her arms around her protector like a child after having a nightmare. Christie retrieved the other 2 and, under cover of some of the other female adventurers, made their way to the local guild hall to rest up and think about what they had just been through. The dungeon nearby remained restless, an odd aura of energy pulsing around the entrance every time someone got near, an odd roar or metallic screech signaling anyone nearby to stay away. Underground, strange rumblings began as if the giant underground was starting to wake up proper. The guild and local watchmen cordoned off the area, keeping a full eye on proceedings. Later that evening, Lily and Marcus were quiet, with her in his lap, as they sat in front of their boardroom's roaring fireplace. No word spoken, Marcus's burly arms pulling her tight and holding her close as he carefully tucked her in. Christy, Callie, and Jessica all shared glances and talked without speaking as they wondered about what was going on. Christy would occasionally reach up behind her and fiddle with the odd thing on her neck, her large, beautiful wings flitting about nervously. Callie used her magic to move a small hand mirror about behind her, carefully inspecting the new unwanted markings on her back. Jessica sat in quiet thought, lost in the moment as she methodically ran through every moment in her mind, staring blankly at the wall.
Remember what she said about changing everything forever? I don't think this is what she meant,
Callie remarked quietly, as she inspected the metal plate on her lower back.
I faced dragons rabid with rage, golems made of steel, and hordes of mindless noblins nibbling at my heels. Never have I felt more unsettled than this. All we did was explore a dead dungeon and sit in some chairs. Why does all my previous fighting experience seem so hollow all of a sudden? Christy asked herself, her companions unable to answer. It feels less like an accomplishment and more like a strange dream, doesn't it? Like something is whispering in my mind but can't talk properly yet. Like it's trying to understand how I think, but doesn't know how it thinks itself, Jessica remarked, still maintaining her blank stare. Bedtime. Sleep time. Maybe a night's rest will help our minds make sense of this situation. We need the rest anyway. If not, then we will do other quests like normal until we are ready to go back to that thing again and properly find answers, now that we have a better idea of what we are dealing with. Agreed? Christy asked the group. Jessica and Callie stood up groggily and went to their beds, not bothering with usual things and just flopping into bed. Christy moved over to Marcus and Lily. She gently moved some hair out of the young girl's face and on receiving a smile gently kissed her, more like a lover than anything else, with Lily returning the kiss enthusiastically. Marcus raised a brow at her. She rolled her eyes and kissed him too. See you two in the morning. We'll do some odd jobs and try to cool off. Night, she said with a smile, and headed to her own bed nearby. Marcus snuggled into his seat and tucked Lily into his lap for a good night's sleep.